From the endearing to the outrageous, Holland Moore helped to create some of television's greatest moments in the Joe Schmo Show. Today, he joins us to give us a look at what went on behind the scenes of what should be everybody's favorite reality TV show. First, thanks so much for joining us today, JMO.
Oh, happy to be here. Happy to be here.
You were involved in all three seasons. Oh, how did you get started? What brought you on to that initial season of Joe Schmo?
It was probably, believe it or not, Big Brother, that reality show. Because I worked on that, on season 2 of that here. And the writer, that was the live show. And the writer on that live show was a guy named Paul Wernick, who you may know of if you're a Joe Schmo fan, who created the show along with Rhett Reese. And so Paul brought me in to Schmo. It was just through that doing Big Brother together, and that's how I got in there. When
you were brought on board, was it just was it at the early stages? Was the Bible already made? Where were you brought in?
I was brought in. They'd already made a lot of the Bible, but not all of it. I was supposed to story edit, which was I was supposed to help put it together in the bays, but I ended up writing a lot of it. I was made a full writer on that season. I did all the evictions with Ralph, all that copy for that was just silly and over the top. Hadn't been cast yet. It was still in the early stages. We knew what we wanted to accomplish, but this is show's never been like this, had never been done, so we really didn't know what we didn't know at that point. It was kind of the wild west, and we were kind of learning as we went.
So did you take aspects of the Big Brother experience, and did you take that and kind of put that into any of the writing? Was there anything specific that you're like, this happened in Big Brother, just not in this way, and that ended up in the writing?
That happened more so in later seasons, specifically season 2, which was our Bachelor Bachelorette type season. I was actually at the same time writing the host copy for a season of The Bachelor, like the real one. So I was doing the real one at the same time I was doing the fake one. But you take something from every reality show you've ever seen, and all the stupidity, the over the top editing, the stuff that's obviously fake, the stuff that you just want to make fun of. And there's plenty of that in every reality show. And so we just take the things we want to make fun of and just pump them up to 11. So yeah, you take something from every show you've ever watched or worked on.
The House has voted.
That's fine. You didn't do anything to me.
Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Gina, you're dead to us.
So Brian Keith Etheridge says that you were the one who came up with ashes to ashes, dust to dust, you're dead to us. Is that true?
Okay. That is true.
Okay.
When I was writing those eviction ceremonies, I was like, they take these things so seriously, and they're not. Like, we should make this like somebody is literally dying. Like, it should be like a funeral type situation. And that's where it all. I just sat down and said, what's the stupidest thing I can do that makes it so serious and it's just ridiculous? And that's where it all came from.
So as part of your job, especially working on season 2, you talked about the outrageous editing. And one of the things that is very prevalent in season 2 is the cuts, the hard cuts, rapid hard cuts. Is that one of your creations, or was that kind of the room?
It was kind of the room. I mean, I was really the only writer that was in the edit bays other than Paul and Rhett. They would be on the edit bays as well, just because I had a previous experience doing that in other shows. But yeah, it was a combination of things. Once we see something that we like, we try to, there are opportunities to find jokes within the editing, because it's like the production of these reality shows are ridiculous as well. And so, it's just another level of the stupidity that you can do, which is, I just like to make stupid stuff, that makes me laugh. It's like season 1, a joke that wasn't on the page but came to fruition in the edit bay was the scene with Brian Keith Etheridge. It was the Money Honey game, And, it was, to be honest with you, it was playing a little flat in the edit bay. We're like, this game is fun. It just needs something. So I just pixelated Brian's nipples. And it just added a whole new level to that game. Suddenly that game was hysterical for no other reason than, it was just a stupid joke that we made up in the edit bay.
Just to randomly pixelate what he calls his fat ass nipples.
Yes, exactly. And I knew he would laugh at that too. And I couldn't wait to show it to him. It was one of those things like, oh, this is hysterical. And it's like, and you kind of like, having fun with a friend, one of those kind of things.
Right before that game, Ralph is in his bee costume and he's having the conversation with the producers. Was that scripted in that idea that just him becoming the Hollywood asshole?
You're not dressed like you're working a fucking kid's birthday party.
When Ralph first came out in that bee costume, it was a little bit hard to keep it together. He was obviously disgusted.
I will talk to the producers, and I will thank them, because now I don't have to wonder what the low rung of my career is going to be anymore. Unless I get into gay porn, this is it.
Absolutely. That was his thing. When he was technically off camera, he was supposed to be that over the top, sensitive, real Hollywood a-hole. And Ralph is so great. That guy can play any character, and he played that character tremendously well.
So you developed a good partnership with Ralph, because throughout all the seasons now, you took you took the lead role when Paul and Rhett left. You became the EP of season 3. But talk about that working relationship with Ralph throughout the seasons and how that evolved.
Ralph is one of those guys that, man, he makes you better. He's that good of an actor, and we had such a rapport because just our sense of comedy was right on the same level. We like the same things. We're both kind of sarcastic people. So we just had that. It helps when you start at a level on the same page, just going into it before you start working together. And we had that going. But, we put little fun things in there. Like on season 2, it got to the point where we would we'd sneak in like music lyrics, to some of the intros. And I remember one day he goes, "What's this, John? I got one for you." And he enters the scene. He goes, "Come together, everybody, right now, over me." He's quoting Beatles lyrics in his intro. It was just kind of a thing that we would do. We would just sneak little song lyrics into some of the intros. But Ralph, like, I can't say enough of good things about his acting and his versatility. He played a different character in all 3 seasons, a vastly different character. And he was so believable in every single one of them. It's amazing.
It's pretty famous at the beginning of season 2, and especially since now that I find out that you're working on The Bachelor at the same time. Yeah. Talk about the black ball ceremony, and just the fact that it was a commentary and kind of tongue lashing for the shows before it.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous that it's something that I noticed early on in my reality career is that the people of color are always eliminated first for some, like it made no sense. And we were just pointing that fact out with that. It was just a little commentary. Like every season, we always tried to do something that was a little like shining the light on society and like some of the mistakes that we see going on. Like, it's our own little subversive way. And that was just one of those things that we were like, yeah, let's see what happens. And it was, the funny thing was that the people, the cast that were there, the extras that got blackballed, they didn't know what the show was. They thought it was a real
reality TV show.
And
so they almost spoiled it, didn't they? The one
they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and some of them, they got really upset. Like, I can't believe every black person is getting eliminated here. And, it's another thing we learned. Like, we should have told everybody ahead of time, like, that's what's going on. But it's funny how that scene was, it's kind of a throwaway little commentary at the top of the show that, man, today, like, would really, that would be a tough scene to do right now because it's kind of so real.
How would you have to make the show different today? If you were making, let's say we're making season 1, it's Lap of Luxury again. How do you make that show different, but still keep the comedy in it?
Boy, it would be tough. It would be tough just because reality shows have gotten so stupid now. They're so ridiculous. It's like you're putting a hat on a hat because it's hard to parody something that is already so just over the top and ridiculous. Some of the things that we did would be an actual reality show these days. Like it would be kind of tough to do. I'm not worried about sensitivity as much because we always came from it at a place of doing the right thing. Like I hate when people call the Joe Schmo Show a prank show because it's not a prank show, and people say that all the time. Oh, you're just being so mean to those people. It's like, no, we're not. We're giving them a chance to shine. So we would probably still do some of the controversial things that we did just to give that person a chance to make the right decision. Like that, ultimately, that's the bottom line is we put the person in this weird position where he has choices to make and can go either the right way or the wrong way. And in that aspect of it, I think the show would be great to make today. The toughest thing would be doing things that seem ridiculous in a world that's already just over the top ridiculous anyway. That would be the toughest part about making it today, I think.
Well, and trying to find a new character for Ralph to play.
I can always do that. There is a season 4 that we started to prep. We have it, me and one of the other writers, we have it all lined up. And boy, the character for Ralph in that one is so good. It's so good. I don't think it will ever get made, but I hate to spoil it in case maybe one day it does, because Schmo Show is one of those things that it goes away and then magically comes back. And then goes away, magically comes back. But there's always a place to find something for Ralph to do. Always.
Well, and especially with streaming platforms and things like that, it would be interesting to have a unique to a streaming platform reality TV show. That would be, I'm sure that someone would jump on it.
Another thing that's tough though about it these days is everything moves so fast. And that's one of those shows that you really have to kind of let breathe to kind of, make you want to see these characters and be who they are. Like I know you guys don't get season 3 up there and you haven't seen it, but we had a character that was an ex-con recently released from prison. And at the eviction ceremonies, everyone tried to look nice and he didn't, he just had a t-shirt. So later, unbeknownst to us, our Schmo that year, he brought that character. He said, "Hey, come with me." And he took him back to his closet and said, "Hey, man, I know you're just out of prison. You're probably struggling a little bit. I want you to look nice like everybody else. Pick any shirt out of my closet and it's yours." And, it was like a really heartfelt moment. But it takes time to build to that. And, that actually got cut out of season 3 to where you didn't see that. It was just a beautiful moment. Every time, like, you would watch it in the edit bay, you would kind of tear up a little bit because this was one guy being the best he could, just saying, "Hey, I know you don't have much. Whatever you want of mine is yours. Take it." It was just a beautiful moment. But, everything has to be so quick these days that you couldn't really let that breathe.
Is that the quality that they looked for in all 4 of the Schmoes that ended up being in the show, is just the person who's just going to be that good person?
Yeah. It's funny. Like, we don't want to pick somebody who wants to be on a reality show. Somebody who's going out saying, "Yeah, I want to be on a reality show," because those people are fake. When we cast the show, we would go to bars or, places where people were, and just randomly stop people and say, hey, have you ever thought about, doing a reality show? And that's how we would get to know them. And you get the person that's like, the perfect person is someone who's like, no, I never thought about it, but hey, that could be fun. I'm willing to try anything, willing to do anything. Like, that's who you want. You want somebody who just wants to have fun, who's not in it to be a star. They're not trying to get more TikTok followers or Twitter followers or anything. They're just up for having fun. And that's what all these guys were. They were good guys and women, just looking to have fun. And it's interesting that all of them pretty much came from Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is one of those towns that I think everybody there they're good people. They're hardy people. It gets cold, so a lot of, in the winter, so a lot of them are inside of bars getting to know each other. There's a real sense of community. It's a hard place to live sometimes, so everybody's been through that together. So they're just good people. And ultimately, this show is a chance to show off the good of humanity. It's not, hey, let's make fun of this guy. It's, let's give this guy a chance to show the world how good people can be.
Talk to me about season 2, because it was a big change to go to the dating show, and then with you're looking at the situation where Ingrid started to figure it out. So talk about how the concept of the dating show and was that specifically to capitalize on the Bachelorette fame, whatever it was at that time, and then talk about Ingrid and how you had to adapt everything for that situation.
It really made me start to shuffle back through some of the experiences that have happened earlier in this house, some of my other feelings that I had put to rest. It kind of revived them.
You seriously had no idea that you were supposed to say that?
Seriously had no idea. Two of you guys both had like
full-on speeches prepared.
Did I not get my script under the door or what?
And when she said I didn't get my script under the door, I went, holy, we're in trouble.
We are doing exactly what we set out to do, which is throw shit that's disbelievable in her face, and she's picking up on it.
I feel like that's her, and she's gonna keep raising the issues, and I don't think it's hurting us in the show.
There were some other things that happened over the last few days that just seemed scripted.
There are people out there less fortunate. So through a foundation that my family has, I adopted you and actually everyone in this group an orphan child.
Ingrid later on said, how do you know exactly how many children to adopt for everybody in the house? I mean, that's the kind of mind processes this woman goes through. It must be exhausting to be her.
I don't want to live in fear of her every second of every day, because it'll kill the comedy as we go forward.
I think you're still being hypersensitive. I'm not feeling it.
We are in a situation right now where Tim is still pristine, and that's very valuable. And she could poison him, and then we don't have him either.
We always wanted to kind of do a different genre every season, and the first season was kind of a Big Brother type genre, and then the second was the dating shows were huge at that time, so that seemed like a perfect way to do it. And the network really wanted there to be 2 schmoes, so that seemed like a good way to do it as well. We'd have a male side and a female side going, but it makes it tougher. Like, I always think it's better with 1 schmo instead of 2, because there's so much that can go wrong. There's so much that can go wrong, and when people start talking and when they have somebody else to kind of conspire with, that we're not controlling, then it gets a little dicier to keep the secret that way. And Ingrid, was so smart. Women are just smarter than men in these situations. It's easier for guys. We just kind of just let things go, and we're just in the moment, and we're not thinking about it. But Ingrid was she was in the moment, but she was also very cautious, and she was noticing, she was looking for everything here, everything there. It's not, nothing would just kind of go over her head. It was like, she's just so perceptive with everything going around that it was I would say it was impossible to fool her because you saw what happened. You know, she figured it out pretty soon. I'm glad she figured it out as soon as she did, so we can, you know, still keep the show going. And that was another thing about the show, man. It changes constantly. You never know what event is going to happen that's going to steer you off course, and you've got to figure out a way to either just roll with it or get the show back on course, or everything's ruined. And luckily, she was game to take it to the next level once she figured it out. But those were very, very stressful nights, you know, because we could see from the get-go how she was kind of questioning everything as it went along. And it was like, it's only a matter of time before she figures this out.
I know Spike was pushing for more kind of risque stuff because that was their brand. Was there any time where you guys came up with a game that either made the show or didn't make the show, or a situation that made the show or didn't make the show, that you're like, there is no fucking way they are going to buy this?
I was shocked that they bought the Invention Ceremonies on season 2. You know, because they were so dirty. Like, if you were just reading those fiction things on a page, they're filthy. Yet, in the moment, you know, if everyone takes it seriously, if everyone around you is saying, is like, yeah, this is completely logical, you can get away with anything. And our schmoes they believed it. But I was really surprised that a network would let us have a man put pearl necklaces on all the female contestants and ask the men, and our men would get to dip their wicks. Like, I just thought that was, they're not going to play this. They're not going to let us do it. Yet they did.
Was that the first draft to dip the wick? Was there anything? Yeah, that was the first.
I went crazy. I just went as crazy as I could possibly go, thinking, okay, I'll get some notes to pull it back, and then we'll figure out what we're really going to do. And they're like, oh, we love it. Let's go with it. And I couldn't believe it.
So you went with the Team America puppet sex scene approach. It's just like, I'm going to give them 90 seconds so that they cut it down to 50.
Exactly. I could not. I mean, the pearl necklace is like, it's my favorite thing. I love it so much that, you know, may I give you a pearl necklace is one of the greatest lines I think ever.
Kimmy, may I give you a pearl necklace? Eleanor, may I give you a pearl necklace? Kimmy, may I give you a pearl necklace?
Yes, you may.
Who is your favorite character to watch? Now, obviously, Ralph, you have a great rapport with him, but through let's go with season 1 and season 2.
Every cast member was pretty phenomenal in what they did, because, you know, that's one of the things too. Like, you have to find that perfect cast. Like, those people, you have to find somebody who's really great at improv. You know, it's not your local improv troupe that is in that show. I mean, these people are some of the absolute best. When you're putting together the show, like, we see literally everybody in Hollywood, like every improv actor in Hollywood, comes in for this, and you really have to get people who are tight. So, you know, it's hard to pick a favorite because they were all so good in their own ways. The guy that played the lawyer, you know, that Matt had to go and negotiate with when he was supposed to eat the dog poo. I don't know if you remember that scene, but that guy who played the lawyer was so good at being that greasy, you know, squirrely lawyer that it was fun to watch that guy do his thing. But, you know, you can point to any cast member and they all had their great moments. Like, holy mackerel, I can't believe they were able to get out of that situation. Or it was such a beautiful piece of acting. You know, they all had that moment. It's impossible to pick one, you know. It's funny, like Kristen Wiig on that season 1, phenomenal with her Dr. Pat stuff. Her and the dolls were great. But I was like, is she going to be the one that breaks out of this season? You know, I thought it might be the actress who played Ashley, played the rich bitch, because she was so good at just slipping in those backhanded compliments. You know, it's impossible to pick a favorite. I can't do it. It's one of those things.
When you heard that I was going to interview you for Joe Schmo, your brain immediately went to one moment, whether it was behind the scenes and on the camera, whatever it was. What was that moment that really kind of flashed out to you when you think of Joe Schmo?
I think of the beginning, the very first day of shooting, when we realize it's going to work. Just on the steps when he's buying everybody's character. He's being very subtle. Like, our characters, they're playing it themselves subtly because no one wants to give it away right in those first few minutes. And yet he's picking up on who everyone is, like, immediately. And I'm like, we got this guy. But man, Hands on a Hard Body, that moment when I guess we called it Hands on a High Priced Hooker. When he, that whole game was designed just for him, just to help us, for him to get his own room. We wanted a prize for, what's a game that he could easily win, and we could separate him from the other cast and get him his own room, because that's key for us as production. He's got to be by himself. And when he just, took his hand off the breast and was just like, I'm done, we didn't know what to do.
This is honestly like a dream come true. But I have to say, sharing that bed is ridiculous. And I won't do it another night.
That was the very last thing. Like, we tried to plan everything ahead of time. Like, what would we do if he does this, if he does this, if he does this. We never thought that would happen. There was never a moment where we thought he would just quit that game and move into a closet. And so that was the moment that really shocked me. And it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, the show could fall apart right now, right here. Yet we figured out a way to keep it together. Nobody said, cut, what do we do here? Everyone just kind of went with it. And it showed it like, this crazy project, it's going to work. We're going to be able to do that. That was a fun one. The game where season 1 where he had to lick chocolate off the people's bodies, and we find out he hates chocolate. Like, who hates chocolate? We didn't know about that. So watching him just like gag with that was stands out in my mind.
Well, not to mention the fact that it was cold outside and the chocolate had hardened, so it wasn't even lickable.
Exactly. It's not necessarily funny, but I can't think about season 1 without his breakdown that Matt had. It was intense. It was very real. It made us all kind of question what we were doing, because we did want to put this guy through test, but we didn't want anyone to get hurt. When you're in a house reality show, every day is like 2 months in the real world, because you're just together with each other. That's all you know. And you really form bonds with these people. And they are who you think they are. And so when it comes out that they're not who they are with that reveal, that's a hard thing for the mind to take, because it's like, you thought you knew everything about this person. You thought that Hornsby was an asshole. You thought you knew everything about him, and you had rage inside for the asshole things that he's done. And then you find out, wait a minute, he's not that at all. He's a nice guy. And it takes a minute for your whole world to kind of, put those things to reconcile with, like, wait a minute, nothing that I've known for these past 2 weeks is real. Matt Kenny-Gold, that first season, he got so close to the old guy because he was, I don't know if it was a grandfather figure to him, but he got so close to him. So when he was kicked out, it really affected him. And it was, we didn't think anyone would get so close to somebody so quick. But it happened. And, when he starts crying and bursting into tears, it was hard on us. There was some crying behind the cameras when that was going on. Like, there really was. And it was a decision, like, do we keep doing this? Is this the right thing to do? Not as producers, but as humans.
Gotta fucking stop this. Right now, with Earl's eviction, it really hit Matt hard, and we don't know if the game's gonna continue.
Did the game change after that moment? Because I remember Brian Keith Etheridge saying in the show that we made a vow never to make him cry again. Yeah. And was there a change? Were there story beats that were perhaps going to take him to that limit again that might have been adjusted at all?
Yeah, we kind of slowed it down a hair. I don't think we took things away, but we may have added a few things. I'm pretty sure that sumo game was kind of a lighter-hearted moment that we added just to have a little fun. Now, we didn't realize we were going to get Kristen Wiig injured at that point. But we really put on the brakes a hair. But we didn't change the format of the show too much, because the show is the show, and we still have to give this guy a chance to be his best person. So you don't want to we dropped the intensity for a day or so we really thought about everything that we were doing ahead of time a little more, just like, could this send him over the edge? But I think you'll notice that the games and the scenarios got a little lighter and a little funner after that moment, because that's true. We were not going to make that man cry again, unless they were, tears of joy, with that reveal. And the reveal was, you couldn't ask for a better reveal. You couldn't ask for a better way for someone to realize what's going on.
Well, it's got to be one of the most, and unfortunately, it's an underrated, but it's got to be one of the most historic moments in television. As someone I am a television nerd, so as someone who kind of analyzes these shows and looks at that, must have been a pure moment, just not only for Matt and the cast, but for all the people behind the scenes, the dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of people that help create that moment. Whatever 2 weeks of live shooting for that.
You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know how he's going to react. If he's going to be mad. It was one of those things. It was uncharted territory. You had no idea what's going to happen.
And Matt wasn't a small dude.
No, he's not a small dude.
I think you did better with Tim. If Tim was angry, you'd be fine. Tim was not the tallest of gentlemen, but that's fine.
But Tim was sturdy, man. He could, I would not want to fight Tim. He's one of those. He's a fighter.
How long did it take to you're looking at? I'm sure multicam. So you've got multicam, and you're getting 12 to 14 hours of shooting a day, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So how long did it take in the editing bay?
It took quite a while. But we were, the good thing about it is, as opposed to other reality shows who are filming that much, is we know what our stories are going in because we've written it. So that helps a lot. And we really only have to focus on one guy. If the camera, as opposed to a traditional reality show where you don't know where your story's going to go and where everyone matters, if our guy's not in the scene, it doesn't matter. But you still have to have cameras on people who aren't in the scene so he doesn't get suspicious. It's one of those things. But it took probably 3 to 4 months in an edit bay to get all the episodes together. But it helps because, like I said, we knew, we wrote this like a sitcom, except you don't know what one character is going to do. So you just had to adapt your sitcom to that one character.
There were supposed to be 12 episodes in the first season, according to BK. Why was it truncated down? Why was there was a rush at the end from what he said?
I think I think he's misremembering a hair. We did like one thing we've done for every single season. We've stopped shoot. We haven't shot everything that we planned to shoot because the network gets worried that they're going to figure it out. And the network's like, we got a series. Let's end it now. And the thing is, that's never really been the case. We could have kept going. That's just the network getting paranoid. But we stopped shooting. We shot probably 2 days less than we planned on season 1. If it goes awry, your show's done. There's no ending. There's no satisfaction. So I get why networks get tense. Like as soon as you have the show, let's end it. So we know we've got it. Because it's the last thing you want to happen is your show fall apart at the last minute and everything's been for nothing.
I always think it's interesting that the best way to find the most real reaction from a person is to create entirely a fake world around them to find something that's real, because having watched reality TV show, through shows throughout, other than perhaps that first season of Survivor and that before, every time that there's a new season of a show, all the strategies and things that the real things that happened in the season before all get carried immediately in. And now it's fabricated again. And it's just, it's crazy how that happens. So.
We were the most written reality show, but we were also the realest reality show. Like I said, we couldn't fake anything, because the second that we fake something, then the whole show is gone. Everything has to be real. That's another reason why the show is so unique.
Well, I hope that gives everybody an opportunity to see kind of the behind the scenes of what was going on with J. Holland Moore, one of the, not only an EP of the show in season 3, but one of the architects of creating such an amazing show. And for that, J-Mo, thank you so much for your time. We really do appreciate it. And if you make season 4, I can hold a camera.
Good to know.
You bring me down, I'll come down there on my own dime, but just to be a part of it. So thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing more from you, and hopefully Joe Schmo season 4. We'll just need to get the numbers up on YouTube. So share.
Absolutely.